End of today's Farm Report. Last week we spoke with Emily Wilmes of the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office about events that took place in 2015. Today we cover upcoming events here in early 2016. One of the events that Extension will be putting on this month is a cow-calf workshop for area beef producers over at the Horizon Center in Pierz. Wilmes has more.
Coming up, very, very soon, less than a month, we are going to be doing a cow-calf workshop again for cow-calf beef producers, and that is going to be held in Morrison County. We're actually going to be back in Pierz at the Horizon Center, and that's going to be held on the evening of Tuesday, January 26th, and that's at 5:30. We don't have all the details together yet. We should have something out in the next week or two, so keep an eye out for that.
Another event that Wilmes talked about that'll be coming up in 2016 in February is a conference in St. Cloud for area women involved in agriculture.
Also this year, we're very, very excited. We're going to be putting on a conference for women who work in agriculture. So this is for women who work on the farm as well as women who work in the agricultural industry. And so we are going to be having that conference in St. Cloud on Thursday, February 18th. And again, more information will be forthcoming on that, so be sure to listen to the radio.
The final event that Wilmes talked about was something going on in February for area dairy producers, comparing parlors versus robots and the cost effectiveness of both.
And then one other thing we have coming up in February, on Friday the 26th, we are going to be in Morrison County. Location not determined yet, but we're going to be doing a workshop for dairy producers, and it's called Robots versus Parlors. So it's really for dairy producers that find themselves at that crossroads of, we want to make an improvement, but do we go all in and get robots, or do we build a parlor or look into low-cost parlor options? We did one of these meetings last year in the Sauk Center area, and people really enjoyed it. It's a lot of really, really great information. So again, stay tuned for more info on that. That's on February 26th.
We've been speaking with Emily Wilmes, livestock educator with the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office in Morrison, Benton, and Stearns County, about the upcoming events with Extension here in central Minnesota.
Are crop, export, and price prospects going to improve or continue to sag? We should get a little better idea of this Tuesday when USDA will release lots of reports locking in last season's production and looking ahead as well. USDA's Outlook Board Chairman Seth Meyer says as far as this past season, the Statistics Service will put out
final estimates for area and yield and production for things like corn and soybeans. So we'll get adjustments in production based upon that, but we'll also get December 1 stocks, which will give us the first quarter of use, which will give us a good, at least a look at what disappearance has been for that period so far this year.
Also, we'll get the first report on how many acres farmers planted to winter wheat. Then Seth Meyer's Outlook analysts will take that plus their own intel on foreign production and demand and put together new forecasts for supplies, domestic use, exports, and prices, not just for crops, but for livestock and dairy as well. All of this coming out Tuesday, noon Eastern Time. In Washington, Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
The current El Niño weather cycle is expected to wind down by the end of this spring. Some forecasters are thinking a neutral weather pattern may take hold this summer. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says it's too early to tell what summer may bring weather-wise. But one possibility is a transition, perhaps a quick one, to a La Niña.
If you look at all of the moderate to strong El Niños that we have over the last 75 years or so, they are almost always followed by a fairly quick transition to La Niña. It's almost as if there's like a boomerang effect.
Rippey says if La Niña does establish itself late this year or early next, the weather impacts to the U.S. would not be felt immediately. However, La Niña would provide weather opposite to what the nation is experiencing now with El Niño.
History would dictate that by the time we get to late 2016 and on into 2017, if La Niña were to persist, that we would probably see an increase in drought coverage as we move much further into the future.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.